Hi, it's Ronnie, and welcome to Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, round 18. And for this series, all month long, we will be using sketches as our inspiration to create a layout. And this sketch here is by Susan Ingersoll, and it's got layers and 5 photos, which I am only going to have one photo. And this is my photo. It's of my two oldest grandsons. And I'm showing that paper there. I used that stamp, the crackle stamp, and used it all over it. And I believe this has been a few weeks since I did this. And I'm using Nature Study plus that sheet there that Debbie gave me. It was a paper pad called Textures. And I believe it came from either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I do end up using one rub-on. I'm going to use a brick background from the Craft Consortium. I think it's the prettiest one in there. I like several, but I really love this one. Now, I dropped that stamp and it still had blue ink on it from another layout that I had just created the day before. And it put blue crackle there on the bottom of my paper there. So I put some rusty hinge over the top, hoping to cover it up. It camouflaged it a little bit, but you could still see it if you're looking for it. So then I had to put rusty hinge over the whole thing, and I was pointing that out. I am going to be using the rusty hinge to ink with. I think I'll use a tiny bit of the peel paint, but mostly it's going to be the rusty hinge. I am conserving that diagonal stripe. I cut it down because I just planned on putting a little bit on each side. Like I said, there's some layering in the sketch. And then I rounded the one corner to match it on the other side. And well, the one on the right's going to get covered up a wee bit, but my intentions were good when I did it. I've got that frame there, and I am going to slide it. Well, since there was pictures on the other side, I thought, well, I'll put a couple of frames here since I'm not going to be using the pictures. Well, technically, this one's a photo slide. And so I decided to use some vellum, and I inked it with the rusty hinge, and I am going to add it to that. And then I'm going to put foam tape behind it. Plus, I'm going to make sure there's a leaf or two or something down there underneath it so you can see it through the vellum. And let's see, where am I at on this? I am still working on that. But it's just going to go on the left-hand side frame. And see, I like it there. I started put it there, and I thought, no, I don't like it there. I'm going to move it down a bit. But as soon as I seen it watching the screen, I thought, oh, I like it there. But yeah, it's going to stay down there at the bottom left. And adding those leaves there. And as you can see, that one is hanging down pretty good so that it can show through the vellum. And I had it planned to use that scrap there. It is just scrap. It is not, it's all from I believe it is from the laser cuts, but I forgot to use it. And I thought, well, maybe not. So it's sitting over its side while I'm thinking that I don't go ahead and use it. Now, the title goes on the bottom right of the photo, and this was just way too big to go there, so I'm putting it up there at the top. It's got a pretty good sized space on the photo that, well, has bricks there and a window, I think, but it's not covering the boys. So I'm putting it there, but I will put some words where the title's at. It just won't be my title. My picture was taken quite a few years ago, and we were at Six Flags, and it was for Halloween, and it was dusk. I mean, it was kind of on the dark side. So the first layout I scrapped, which was actually an album for the trip because I took a lot of photos, is kind of, dark. I mean, because it was dark. And of course, my editing program back then, it didn't lighten it up too much. But I did really well today. It lightened it up really good. You can't even tell how dark it is, but you can see the boys so good. Anyway, we had just looked at Scooby Doo's van and were walking along looking at things, and there was like, uh, Halloween dancing and singing going on, but they were a lot more interested in this building and the water wheel, and it being dark made it spooky too. I cut these rocks out, and all but this one, I went ahead and did all this stuff too. I inked it, and then I took my stylus and I'm rubbing it really good so it's curving, and then I'm going to add the foam tape so that it'll stay that way. And yeah, it has, because I did this probably 3 weeks ago on this one, and it's still got all the curves and looks like rocks and everything. So it works. The foam tape works, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Of course, I've done it before. I get excited every time when I look in my album, and it's still. I do store my albums standing up. I don't store them laying down. And I even do my layouts that way when I am, before I put them in the album. I stand them up. I've got a box and I put them in there till it's full. And then there might be a few on top that are on top of each other. But to start with, they are standing up. Here's the words I'm going to put there with my rocks. And those signs say wander, wonder, and repeat. Uh, yeah, those words are kind of hard to say together. But I'm going to add a little bit more greenery to the rocks. And yeah, I really like how they turned out. I just love that sheet of paper. I think there's like 3 of everything in there. So I think I got enough rocks to last the rest of my life. Oh, I forgot to mention that I pulled out that viewfinder. It was already cut. Practically everything I've been using this past month has been cut already. I've cut some monsters out, but I think that's it. Well, I haven't filled the month up with videos and layouts and videos yet. I'm kind of skipping around. So, yeah, there might be a few between here and back to the first of the month. But anyway, I cut it out because of the wagon wheel, the water wheel. And I wanted to make sure they weren't actually, you know, aligned, since one is smaller than the other and it wouldn't look right. So I put it down just a little bit lower. After the fact, I thought maybe I should have put it on the left hand side and went ahead and moved my frames to the right. But I like the frames there anyway. Oh, I've got that mesh ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just cutting it up and putting it here and there on the layout just because, I like it and it looks like sticks. And yeah, and that roll goes a long way. I mean, if you can get a buddy to share it with you, I gave some to some friends, but yeah, it goes a long way. If you're cutting it apart now, if you put the whole 12 inches on your layout, it may not go so far at all. Uh, oh, I'm just sticking a little bit right there, but yeah, the Jake isn't even looking at me in the photo. I took the picture and it was so dark I didn't notice he's looking over there. Well, you could see the dancers from where we were at, and the singers while they were dancing and singing. You could see them coming down the street from where we were at, and I think that's what he was looking at. Because I was tempted to look over that way too. Uh oh, I thought I was done. I put my splatters on and everything. And that one corner down there on the right, I thought, man, it looks awful white. I thought I need to put something there. There is nothing in the sketch, but I needed to put something there. So I'm adding a little bit more of the rusty hinge, and I this die die cut of the tree stump. It was not in with all the other stuff, but I knew there was one in with the die set. So I went and got it and pulled it out. And I'm inking the center with the, uh, I'm going to ink it, I think, with the rusty hinge, or maybe it's photo, vintage photo. Maybe I inked it with that. And then I used uh, the espresso one for the tree stump because, they get where they look kind of aged and dark. And so I used it for the actual tree stump and also the branch. And really, that's not a branch, it's a small tree die, but I use it as a branch all the time. But the grass there, I cut all of it by hand. It, I didn't use any dye for it. I didn't have any cuts, so I have not. I've been fussy cutting a lot. I am not gonna get the dyes out, and cut anything out. As I just took scissors and cut some. Yeah, I might have uh, had a bigger piece there if I hadn't been using the scrap and cutting with my scissors for the grass right there. But I will add some more grass because I did cut more taller grass. But I'm going to cut this tree apart and add my little branches for it. And yeah, I'm a lot happier with something in that corner. But I do like the splatters that I put on there. But uh, I really thought I was done until I thought of something that I could put in that corner. And oh yeah, there's the what do you call it? The laser cut. I didn't see any leaves that I wanted to use because of the fact that I've already used laser cuts on here, and I didn't see anything in the container that would go, so I just went ahead and pulled out another branch of the leaves to cut apart and use on my layout. I will not use all of it. I will save some of it, but yeah, I'm just gonna cut it apart and put it here and there. I feel like I'm doing a floral sometimes when I am putting stuff on the layout. But I do have fun doing it. Um, I'm looking at that and trying to figure out what part I want to do next. And let's see. Let me look at my layout. I might tell more. Oh, it's a lighter green, and it's got like little. Maybe it's a bunch of little berries in there, and I wanted it to go over there to the side, so I have lighter green on the right, and I wanted some lighter green on the left, and so I cut that out to go on the left. And a little bit of foam tape, and I'm done really this time. Yeah, oh, no, I had to throw a little bit of ink on there. But that's it, that's my layout. And I had fun making it. Sorry I didn't have 5 photos, but I do have the one. And yeah, the sketch is great. And if you look down there at the playlist, I'm sure you'll see a lot more creative people making layouts from that sketch and doing a much, much better job than me sticking with the sketch. And like I said, I like to look at it and then go from there. And I knew as soon as I looked at it, I only had one photo in mind to use. And there's my cluster with the rocks and the words, and of course the greenery too. And uh, yeah, that wood grain, it looks like it might have been simple stories because it's kind of a brighter color that I used to cut it out with. And there's my frames and my vellum frame and everything on the left hand side. But I want to thank you all so very, very much for joining me while I created my layout. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a happy, scrappy day. Bye.